Steve Nugent.
Well, that felt pretty good. That's a good way to start the morning. Well, we've got a presentation this morning which is about the Core 5 products, and some of you go, yeah, I know all about that. Well, it's going to be a little bit different this morning. You see, what we need to get everyone to do is we need to get everyone on planet Earth to take our products. Now, how do we do that? In order to get everyone to do that, you actually have to have them join the Mannatech family, don't you? That means building your businesses. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of business stuff today, sort of interlaced with the product stuff. Can we crank this up just a little bit? Because I'm kind of straining here this morning, okay? Just a little bit. That's great, that's great. Because I was a business builder, and some of you know that, and some of you don't know that. But when before I retired from practice at my clinic, I decided that if I was going to teach Mannatech associates, I would have to learn what it was like to be a Mannatech associate. Because I didn't have a clue about network marketing, I didn't know anything about the business. I knew about your science. That's what impressed me. That's what made me give up my personal freedom, my time freedom, and my financial freedom to do what I do for associates around the world. It was the technology, it was the science. But I realized that if I was going to teach you, I had to know what it was like to be you. So, in fact, that goes back a long time ago to a Marine Corps leadership principle when I served as a U.S. Marine more than 40 years ago, way more than 40 years ago. Anyway, it says you never ask your men to do anything you would not do or could not do yourself. I like that principle. I believe in that principle. I think a true leader, and each of you, to be successful in your businesses, must be a true leader. You must lead. You must inspire people to join you. You must inspire people to follow you, to keep them in your business. So leadership principles are important. In fact, one of these days, maybe I'll be able to come back to Europe and do some leadership training courses for you as well. Not this trip, it's not time, but I would love to do that. So, I became an associate. And I started building a business, and within a year, I became one of Mannatech's top business builders. In fact, I had to give up my downline when I accepted the position with Mannatech, because you can't have a downline and be an employee. My downline in 1997 made me $285,000 US on a compensation plan that was abysmal. It was a terrible compensation plan. It was awful. I mean, you needed thousands of people to make a decent check, and many, many more thousands to make a really good check. And if you've ever seen a platinum presidential ring, how many of you have ever seen a platinum presidential ring? Raise your hands. And I know we've got a platinum in the room, so that doesn't count. The rest of you, have you seen a platinum presidential ring before? Would you like to see one? Yes. Can you see this? So lots of people think of me, well, he's just the product guy. All he knows about is product. I know a little bit about business building. And I'm going to give you a couple of tips as we progress, because I built my business with product. Now, that's obviously because I'm a science guy, I'm product-oriented, but I never built it with complex information. I always did it with simple information. Because one of the principles of communication is to communicate in a way that your audience actually understands what you've said. And if I'm talking up here in science and my audience has no science background, they may be impressed with what I say, but they'll have no way to repeat what I've said. And if you can't duplicate, you can't succeed, can you? So it's got to be simple and easy and understandable. I'm going to give you some analogies that'll make good sense to you today. In fact, I'm going to finish with one on amber toast that I think will work for everybody, even though I don't recommend that you lead with amber toast. That may surprise you, because I'm the guy who loves amber toast probably more than anybody loves amber toast. But I'm going to recommend that you don't lead with amber toast when you're building your business. You know, all of the companies, and there are more than 4,000 companies. Did you know that? More than 4,000. They all claim to be the best. In fact, you look at their marketing literature, they're all the best at virtually everything. Well, by definition, the best means there's one. There can only be one who is the best. That's us, and I'm going to show you how to tell people about that today. So these other 4,000 companies, what do they have? They have a compensation plan. So do we. Okay. They have incentive trips and cruises, and they go to Malta and wherever, and, you know, that's nice. What's different about us from them? Because of Mannatech's science, because of our technology, because of our patent protection, you can build your business on a foundation of granite. Whereas if you go to these other 4,000 companies that have compensation plans and cruises and incentive trips, and they can tell you how to build the dream and blah, 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 they're building on a foundation of sand because they don't have the technology or the patents to protect your efforts. I don't know about you, but it was hard for me to build my business. It wasn't easy. You know, oh, it's easy because you're a doctor and you know this. No, it wasn't easy. I still had the same kinds of obstacles that all of you have in terms of convincing people that they need nutrition, and then they need our nutrition instead of somebody else's nutrition, because there's 4,000 companies all claiming to be the best. Well, I'll tell you how to sort through some of that today as well. All right, having that all out of the way, let's move forward. We're going to start with food versus fake. Now, there are about 500 million people on planet Earth who take vitamins and minerals every day. 500 million people who you've not yet talked to. 500 million people who think that taking vitamins and minerals every day is the right thing to do for their health. They're already doing it. It's not a cold lead. It's not like you're trying to walk up to a stranger and say, hey, I think that you need vitamins and minerals. They say, sorry, I don't take them, I don't need them. There's 500 million people who already do. But they take synthetic vitamins and minerals. What's the difference? Well, most doctors don't know the difference, and I know that because I teach doctors all year long. But before we do that, let's start with why you need nutrition at all. Well, you need nutrition because our food is deficient. You know, the light's so bright I can't see that at all. What do we have here? Oh, okay. All righty. That's not important for the audience. Okay. Well, our food is deficient. What's the proof? Some of you have read my book called The Missing Nutrients. How many of you have, by the way? Well, God bless all of you for reading that book. It was available, it still is available in 5 languages, and it's still being used around the world by associates to recruit and retain. It's a really good little book. Well, in that book, in 2004, I gave studies which said that our produce, our fruits and vegetables, is declining in nutritional value at about 28% as it relates to the original factor of 1950. It was 1950 that scientists began to keep track of the vitamin, mineral, antioxidant content of the food we eat. And it declines every single year. Every single test that's been done has shown a decline in vitamin and or mineral of the food we eat every year. It's because of commercial farming methods. Well, in 2007, Dr. Don Davis from the University of Texas at Austin, he said that his team has reviewed 43 different fruits and vegetables, common ones that we should all be eating every day. And he said that some of them are down as much as 38% now. And when he was interviewed on a major TV network in the United States, at first their medical director, you know, all the TV stations have a medical director of some kind, or a health and science guy, right? Supposed to be an expert, right? And he said, well, none of this can be true because all of us know that our food's the same as it always was, and all you have to do is eat right. You don't need vitamins. Well, then Dr. Davis produces his impeccable study that was done with absolutely valid and reliable techniques, and there was no question, even to the skeptic, oops, our food doesn't provide what it used to. The medical director had to swallow his and he said, "Hey, what's the deal? How come?" And Dr. Davis said, "Commercial farming methods." It seems that there are major corporations, and you know some of these big corporations, that are the major suppliers of seeds to the farmers. And they've discovered ways to engineer the seeds, which is different than genetic engineering, where they splice in insect DNA so they don't have to use pesticide. We're talking about engineering the seeds so that the plants will retain more water. Why would they want to make your tomatoes and your peaches and so on retain more water? They get heavier, and you buy by weight. It makes them more money. And the bigger they are, the less nutrition they have. That's what Dr. Davis says. He also says the prettier they are, the less nutrition they have. Well, here's something else that you may not know, but you can tell every new contact you meet. And I'll give you an example I use because it's so vivid. We all want to have a tomato that's vividly red, right? What makes a tomato red? There is an antioxidant phytochemical, phyto taken from the ancient Greek word for plant, so plant chemical. This is not a vitamin, it's not a mineral, it's something entirely different, a totally different category. So there's this phytochemical called lycopene. Any fruit which is red or pinkish or reddish has some lycopene in it, or it's been artificially gassed. Well, here's what they do. You see, the problem with allowing the lycopene to form in the tomato is that it only forms in the last few days on the vine. If they allow the tomato to fully ripen, they won't have the extra days to ship it somewhere and have it sit on a grocery store shelf. So we'll circumvent that problem. We'll just harvest the tomatoes before they ripen when they're green. When they're green, there's no lycopene in them. So we'll harvest them when they're green, and then before we get them to the grocery store, we'll put them in chambers and gas them with ethylene gas. The ethylene gas will make a green turn red. It'll make a green banana turn yellow. This is what's going on with our food supply today, folks. That I would lead if I was building a business today. When I started my conversation, I would start on the aspect of health, anything about health. Gosh, everywhere you go, you sit down in a restaurant, people are talking about their health or their medical tests or the drugs they're taking or something like that. And I'd say, do you take vitamins and minerals? And if they say yes, you have got a winner. Because I'm about to show you that there is no better vitamin mineral product in this world than the one offered by Mannatech, and we can prove it. And the others can't. 500 million people on planet Earth taking synthetic vitamins every day. 500 million people that need to join Mannatech immediately. You got a big audience there. Well, here's something you probably didn't know, and your new contact will not know this, and their doctor is almost certain not to know this. That synthetic vitamins are made either from coal tar or petroleum. Now you'd say, well, how can that be? That's not food. That's right, it's not food. But it is a naturally occurring substance, is it not? You could make a synthetic vitamin from coal tar or petroleum, and in many countries you're allowed to say on the label, naturally sourced vitamins. Now, does the consumer know the difference? Of course not. Their doctors don't know the difference. Most government regulators don't know that. When I was down in Australia, I just finished there, we contacted the biggest distributor of vitamins in Australia. And we had to go through numerous different offices before we got to somebody who could answer the question. because they all said, every one of them said, all vitamins are synthetic. Why are you asking this question? No, all vitamins are not synthetic. And we surprised them. And we checked with doctors in Australia, same thing, where the doctor said, well, all vitamins are synthetic. No, they're not. But they didn't know that. All right? Get a vivid image of this black stuff in your mind right now. Yeah, naturally occurring substances, but not food. Do you make digestive enzymes to digest coal tar? Of course not. Or petroleum? Of course not. But you do make digestive enzymes to digest plants, don't you? So what would be the ideal way to make a vitamin mineral product? From a plant. That would be the best way to do it. That just makes good sense. Well, this comes to what, when I finished my tour in Australia, they advertised my lecture tour there across their country as Chef Steve's Cooking Experiment. Well, I got to be honest and tell you folks, I don't cook, okay? In fact, before I did the cooking experiment, I had never turned on my oven, ever. It was pristine. I mean, it was absolutely brand new and pristine, never been touched. And I also found out that my oven has a glass door in it. I never noticed it. I'm never home, you know. And I have a maid service clean my apartment, so I didn't know. But when I did the cooking experiment, I found out I've got a little glass door, and I can watch. Well, here's how it happened. A presidential in the United States contacted me after I finished a lecture tour in the state of Iowa there. And I was talking about real food technology. Well, he called me up and he said, Dr. Nugent, you said that Phytomatrix is absolutely pure plant food, just food. Yep. And I'm thinking that when, he says to me, when my wife cooks a turkey, that we can watch it turn brown as it's cooking. Would all food do that? As soon as he said that, I thought, what a great idea. A picture is worth 1,000 words, isn't it? Well, I know that's not the best slide in the world, but I'm going to take a chance on you folks. Some of you are my friends and have been for many years. Some of you I've never met yet. I hope that today I'll be able to embrace all my old friends, give all of you hugs, and meet the rest of you. I hope I can do that today. I'm going to pass the magic tin around the room. I want you to hold it in your hand. I want you to see it. And I'm going to ask you two favors. Favor number one, please don't touch the tablets. They're just glued onto the tin, and I don't carry glue with me when I'm traveling, okay? And the other thing is, somebody make sure I get this tin back when we're done today, all right? So I'm just going to pass this around the room. Now, what I want you to notice is the black stuff. Let me go back here again for a moment. How many of you have heard of something in California called the La Brea tar pits? The La Brea tar pits are famous in California for scientists because they're a great fossil deposit. They have been oozing and bubbling coal tar like that for who knows how many millennia. 24 hours a day, they just kind of pop and bubble coal tar all day long. Well, as I pass this around, as you look at this, you're going to see that some of these tablets have a whole lot of black stuff that apparently oozed out of the tablet. So I like to say that synthetics ooze and food browns. You can use that, by the way. And I want you to understand as you look at these, because a lot of people won't understand what we're looking at. The tablets on the right side as you're looking at it are the tablets before they have been cooked, before they've been baked, fresh out of the bottle. The tablets to the left then are the same product, two of the same product. Why did I do two? I wanted to make sure it wasn't some kind of an anomaly, so I did it twice. So you'll see these tablets after they've been baked. Now the one on the top is the #1 selling vitamin in the world. I won't say the name, they told me not to. But it's the #1 selling vitamin in the world. The one below it is the #1 selling woman's vitamin mineral in the United States. The one below it is the #1 selling woman's or prenatal vitamin in the United States. The one below that, this little mustard-colored tablet, is Phytomatrix, which, as you see, simply turns brown when you cook it. And the one on the bottom is the #1 selling children's chewable tablet in the United States. And that's children's chewable. Look at the black ooze. So I'm going to pass this around. Could I get, yeah, if you just, thank you. Make sure everybody gets to see that. Don't touch the tablets now. And make sure I get it back, because I use it in every city I go to. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, all I did is I put these things on a cookie sheet, stuck them in the oven, baked them for 10 minutes at 177 degrees Celsius. That's it. That's all I did. And I looked in the little glass window, and I watched them kind of like the La Brea tar pits. The ooze and bubble, black stuff oozing out. It's pretty cool. And then I thought, anybody who has even one healthy brain cell left, if you show them this, they're going to go, oh my God, I'm not going to swallow that anymore. I want real food technology. Well, you've come to the right place. Well, let's talk about synthetics versus natural. What do we know? Now, your doctor has been taught, and your doctor's been taught this because pharmaceutical drugs are synthetics. And that's what doctors are taught to use, and they're taught well. That's what they understand. They're not taught about vitamins and minerals. But they think that, well, synthetic is fine because we use it in drugs all the time, so it must be good. Well, what you're looking at here is one study where they had more than 18,000 smokers and former smokers and workers who had been exposed to asbestos. And of course, asbestos is known to promote lung cancer. Well, these doctors didn't want to do a study that showed vitamins were bad. On the contrary, they believed that since these are diseases of oxidative stress, that if they used antioxidant, that these individuals in the study would actually improve. That's what they were hoping to see. It made sense to them. But they didn't know that there was something that wasn't synthetic. So they gave them synthetic beta-carotene, synthetic vitamin A, synthetic vitamin E. And they had to stop the study 21 months early. Why? Because there was a 28% increase in the incidence of lung cancer, a 17% increase in the incidence of death from cardiovascular disease, which is also a free radical disease. They stopped the study 21 months early because of 388 new cases of lung cancer that were diagnosed early in the study. So was synthetic good for these people? Doesn't look like it. But now I'm a scientist, and I want to tell you, in science, any good scientist is going to say to you, one study isn't proof. I'm absolutely in agreement with that. One study is not proof. One study is interesting. One study makes us, even if it's got 18,000 people, it's still just interesting with one study. And in science, we'll say more study is needed. Let's do more investigation. All right, well, let's do more investigation. This is the result of something called a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is a very sophisticated statistical analysis. They analyzed 47 human studies. And after analyzing these 47 studies, what did they find? The same thing as the first studies. As a scientist, I have to say that 48 different studies is pretty convincing to me. One wasn't, but 48 is. What do you think? I think it's a pretty solid indicator that synthetic beta-carotene, synthetic vitamin A, synthetic vitamin E, synthetic antioxidants, this says nothing about any other synthetics, just antioxidants, that they actually cause disease. This study said it increased the risk of death. But it also said that when the vitamins came from plants, there was no risk. Why? Well, you're designed to eat plants. You have enzymes to help you digest plants. You're not designed to eat petroleum or coal tar. You're just not. All right. So I think we know that synthetics probably aren't good for us. I think there's good enough evidence for that. What about how they're absorbed? Well, this study that was published in Medical Hypothesis by a PhD that I've known for years, in fact, I've known him since he was just a little baby PhD. I think he was born a PhD. Guy's brilliant. Anyway, he tells me, I called him up and he told me, he said, you know, the natural that we tested, it actually was on average 390% more bioavailable than the synthetics. Now understand, from a scientific sense, that says nothing else except the statement I just made. His study, like all scientific studies, is to study one thing, not everything. He just wanted to find out what is the potential bioavailability of natural versus synthetic. He also found that the natural had retention in the body, because some naturals you want to retain for a period of time, had retention in the body up to 170% better than synthetics. Again, it makes sense because you're designed to consume natural. What about mineral supplements? Mineral supplements all over the world are basically made of ground up rocks. Are rocks natural? Well, of course they are. So then could you say that, let's say that you make a brand new women's bone health supplement. Boy, they're big sellers around the planet. And your women's bone health supplement is made with the most common sources, which would be ground up limestone, the most plentiful rock on planet Earth, limestone. In fact, limestone is so plentiful, it's literally dirt cheap. Which is why everybody's using it. It's dirt cheap. It is a natural source of calcium. It is. It's not food. You don't put limestone on your dinner plate at night, do you? But you would put broccoli on your dinner plate at night, which is a natural source of calcium. All right, so ground up rocks. Here's a study done by Dr. Ensley and his team. Now, Dr. Ensley's study question was simply to find out if the ground up rocks that are used in 95 or better % of all of the vitamin mineral products made in the world, were they actually soluble? Could they be absorbed into the body? Now understand, folks, you are mostly fluid. And when we talk about solubility, we mean something that actually goes into fluid and actually disappears in the fluid, becomes part of the fluid. And you are mostly fluid. Dr. Ensley said, this stuff isn't soluble. Well, in the United States, we'd have a big duh moment, like, duh, yeah. It's rocks. You're not supposed to eat it. Did we need a study to prove it? Well, in science, we actually do. You can't just say something is true. You have to prove it's true before you can say it. That's what science is about. So Dr. Ensley did us a favor and he proved it. All right? So you have two choices. Choice number one, you can get your synthetically made product from a chemical plant, or you can get a real food technology from a real plant. It's your choice. What intelligent person would say no to that? And if they're not smart enough yet, you give them ambertose, and that helps, and I'll talk to you about that as well. Dr. Jacobs, Mannatech has never met him, he's never met us, but I love what he did. In his study, he said that, you know, taking little bits of a vitamin or a mineral from this plant or that plant and then recombining them is good, but your body's actually designed to get your nutrition from a full plant matrix. Isn't that interesting? Because of patent protection, that's building your business on a foundation of granite. Because of patent protection, there is one company on this entire planet that can give you a complete plant matrix source of vitamin and mineral. That's Mannatech. Half a billion people are taking junk vitamins and don't know it. Half a billion people. How many platinum presidentials could we have out of a half a billion people? I can't even do the math on that. It's staggering. So basically, this is the way it works. They always want me to show this slide to you, so I've done that. So, you know, I like to cut to the chase with this stuff. So Phytomatrix is the product, and this is how we do it. We grow Phytomatrix in hydroponic bays. And literally, we just put an Indian mustard seed in each of the little hydroponic bays, and in the bay goes purified water, and in the purified water goes vitamin, mineral, and phytochemical. Phytochemical that's been standardized. What does that mean? Well, you'll never get two tomatoes that are the same. You'll never get two stalks of broccoli that give you the same level of something called sulforaphane, which is an antioxidant phytochemical. You'll never get two. But we want you to get the same level of protection in every single Phytomatrix tablet. So we standardize each one. Now understand, this is expensive for Mannatech. Why don't the other companies do it? Because it's expensive, and most people don't even know what it means. Well, this is what happens. Let's say we buy a crop of broccoli, and we're going to put a certain amount of sulforaphane in that water. Then we test the broccoli, and it's a big oops. This was a bad crop of broccoli. There's not enough sulforaphane. What do we have to do? We have to buy another crop. And if the second crop is bad, we'll have to buy a third crop. So it causes our expenses to go up to maintain that quality. That's part of the way you'll answer the question when somebody says, but why is your product so expensive? Quality is why. Plus, the hydroponic growing is expensive in and of itself. Now, how about the question, I always get this question in Europe, to the point where it almost makes me want to tear out what's left of my hair. Always somebody says, is it organic? Because they don't even understand what the word organic means. Can everybody in the audience see my boots? My boots are organic. They are. By scientific definition, these boots are organic. The tops are made from the leather of a cow. The bottom is made from the leather of a cow. My heels are made from the wood of a tree. Both of those are living organisms that contain carbon molecules. Organic means something that contains carbon molecules. That's all it means. It doesn't mean safer, purer, cleaner, better, more nutritious, blah, blah, blah. That's marketing stuff. Now, some of you may have read my book called How to Survive on a Toxic Planet. I hope some of you have. Have you read the book? Good for you. The rest of you need to. Okay. In that book, I documented the sorry state of pollution on our planet. And by the way, I did that before Vice President Al Gore discovered the environment. I'm actually quite annoyed by that. Anyway, and in that book, I documented the scientific studies that tell us that farm pesticide is found at the North Pole. Farm pesticide is found at the South Pole. How did it get to the North and South Poles? It got there through something called weather systems. Weather systems move around the planet 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they must, or life on this planet would cease. You have to have weather systems. Can you keep a weather system from passing over somebody's organic farm? Of course you can't. In fact, they must have a weather system over their farm. They need the rain. Pesticides are being delivered around the planet through weather systems, everywhere on the planet, including Bob and Joe's organic farm. Where are they not being delivered? In an environment that we control 100%. We control the air purity. We control the water purity. We control everything. There isn't anything more pure than Phytomatrix as a vitamin mineral product. With the ammunition I'm giving you here, folks, if you can't sell Phytomatrix, you better find another career. All right, so basically this is all there is to it. The bay is full of vitamin, mineral, and phytochemical. It's taken up through the root system. It's incorporated into the leaf matrix of the plant, and the plant turns it into food that your body's actually designed to eat, as opposed to petroleum and coal tar. How are we doing with that tin passing around? Where's it at this point? About halfway across the room, okay. Some of you folks impressed with that, and you see it up front, see it right in your hands? Any of you can do that, by the way. What a tool, huh? What you should not do is don't label each of those products, okay? A lot of the Australians were taking pride in labeling them, and I was catching them and saying, don't do that. You don't have to do that, so don't do that. Anyway, so let's talk about our most important product on planet Earth, and that is Ambrotose. Ambrotose is our flagship product. It's really the product that made me give up what I gave up. And by the way, how many new folks do we have at this meeting today? Can you raise your hands for me? So say new in the last 6 months. Okay? You know, my life has been dedicated to service, to serving people's health. And I would not be with any company that couldn't do that the best. And that's end of story. And I'll prove this to you by my record. I've been offered a lot of money from a lot of companies, and I've turned them all down. And my favorite one, it's my favorite one because of our CEO's reaction. I was offered $5 million US for a 3-year contract, plus 1% of all the products sold in commissions. And I turned it down, and I told them, I cannot work for you because I can only represent products which are the best products for human health. That includes Ambrotose, and because Ambrotose is protected by patent in 30 countries, you can't have it. You can't have it, I can't work for you, it doesn't matter how much money you offer me, I can't work for you. That's an ethical thing. Well, just for the heck of it, I thought I'd take the written offer back and show it to our CEO. I thought maybe our CEO might give me $5 a week raise or something, you know. I showed it to him, he looked at it, he said, he's looking at me, he said, you are insane. That's more money than I make, he says. You're nuts. I'm not going to give you a raise forever. And then I thought, oops, I blew that one. And he said, but I will pay for psychotherapy because you really have problems. My problem is I know the science, I know what Ambrotose can do, and because of patent protection, only Mannatech can offer this product. Again, build your business on a foundation of granite, not sand. This is important. All right, let's look at some of the things that we know. Just the brain studies. We now have 6 brain studies. In fact, the last 3 human, double-blind, placebo-controlled study, the kind of study your doctor wants to see, showed us that, well, all the studies showed us, in fact, that Ambrotose improves brain function, improves memory function. Right now, the majority of the people with income on planet Earth are in a group called the baby boomers. Do you use that term here in Europe? Yeah. Okay. So the baby boomers, these are people who are born between 1946 and 1964. When you hit 50, it's a scientific fact that your memory doesn't work as well as it did before 50. And the farther you go beyond 50, well, the less efficient it is. So you've got this whole group of baby boomers who need Ambrotose just for memory. And all of you have met people that need better brain function. I meet them every day. Improved concentration and attentiveness. All of you know people that need that. Improved mood. I don't have to say a psychological diagnosis, do I? Improve mood. Lots of folks need that. Decrease irritability. That's specifically for customs officials. Those guys have no sense of humor. Immune system support, and I'm going to explain to you how that works in just a moment. Digestive support. We know that ambrotos works as a prebiotic. That is to say, it feeds the probiotic in your gut, and probiotic is what keeps your gut healthy and your digestion working right. And approximately 70% of your body's total immune functions in your gut. So this is super important. The NSF certification. There are a whole bunch of products out there that claim this and claim that, but when they're analyzed, we find that they don't have in the bottle what they say they have in the bottle. And the governments let them get away with it. Why, I don't know. I'm not a regulator, and oh my God, I'd never want to be a regulator. But the point is, we've had our Core 5 products tested at a place called NSF, which is the oldest facility and the most respected global facility for doing these types of tests. They'll analyze virtually anything. And what they do is they do their analysis, and you have to accept their results. If their results say your product doesn't meet the standard you say it meets, they publish that publicly, and you got to live with it. Well, we already knew what we had because we have a state-of-the-art analytical chemistry lab. Our analytical chemistry laboratory is so amazing, it's so astounding, that university professors come into our lab and they are in awe of what we have. That's why we do the cutting-edge research that we do. That's why we make these tremendous products that we make, because we can. Because we've got the research facility. What do the other companies have? Good websites. Most of the other companies have no research facility. There's a few that have some research facility, but most of the research facilities are pretty puny, pretty underwhelming. Now, I know this because when I get offered jobs at these other companies, I see it as an opportunity to go see their labs, if they have one. And I'll say, oh, sure, I'll come talk to you guys. If you pay for my airline ticket and all that, I'll come, you know. And I'll come, and the first thing I do is, let's see your lab. And almost every time they say, oh, we don't have a lab. We don't actually need one. We just call up a manufacturer and tell them to mix this and that in a bottle. That's what all the companies do, most all of them. There's a few that have a lab, but their labs are not impressive. None of them are like ours. Our lab is amazing. Well, we already knew that when we spent the money to send our product to NSF, we knew what would come out because we'd already done it ourselves. So there was no risk to us. You're going to find that almost none of the 4,000 competitors on planet Earth are able to pass that certification test. Almost none. There's a handful that can, but they're not real food technologies, and we are. Folks, we have no competition. We really do not have any competition once you know these things. All right, we've got patents in 30 countries. We operate in 21 countries. The last country we opened up was Namibia in Africa. So we're in 21 countries now. Then you might say, why do we have patents in 30? Maybe we plan to go to more countries. And we have more than 45 patents. And you look at our marketing literature, and you'll see the greater than mathematical symbol, so that means more than. And we have more than 45 patents on ambrotos alone. And then you'll see it says more than X patents on the other products. Why do we do that? Because we get our patents so fast, it's too expensive to change over all the marketing literature every time we get a new patent. So we do it in increments of 5. So when we hit 50, we'll say more than 50, and so on, all right? So more than, and on our other products, we have more than 70 patents on our other products. Build your business on a foundation of granite, not sand. More than 70 patents on the other products. This is protection for your work, protection for your efforts, so that what you build isn't just a dream, it's a business that you can will to your children. That's part of what Mannatech offers you. Now let's do this real quick. I'm going to give you a way to understand ambritos. By the way, I don't know, how much time do I have left? Can someone tell me? Ooh, cool. Any of you guys bored yet? Okay. You're going to like this story. Okay, I see, of course, I was a U.S. Marine, so it sticks in my mind from all those decades ago. But I see our bodies being in a state of war against the environment. Because we don't live on a pristine planet anymore. We now live on a planet which is highly polluted and getting worse every year. And yeah, we have a few companies here and there that say, we're going to go green, and that's great, and I hope they do, but we're not seeing any real solid evidence of this yet. So we're living on a planet that's got pollution attacking our body, oxidative stress, viruses, bacteria, things attacking our body, especially with viruses, that people have never even seen before, say, a decade ago. So this is kind of a military analogy I'm going to give to you, but I guarantee everyone you say this to will understand clearly, easily, simply, and they'll be able to repeat what you've told them. What's the key to building your business? Being duplicatable. All right, so before I give you the military analogy, let's establish how the receptor works. Now, in all the textbooks, it says that on your cells in your body, you've got about 6 trillion cells, and on your cells, that you have these things that the textbook call receptor sites. They're actually transceivers. They're not really receptors. But the textbook sometimes takes 10 or more years to catch up. All right? So let's imagine that my left arm is one of these receptors. Now, normally I have a wireless mic, so this is going to be very difficult for me to do with a handheld mic. Let's say that we have this. Now, the receptors don't look like my arm, okay? They're not straight, right? They're squiggly and everything. But just for the purpose of explanation, let's say that my arm is a receptor. Now, I want you to imagine that on my arm that there are 8 docking stations. Everyone can relate to that term, can't they? Docking stations. Each of these docking stations is designed for one particular vehicle and nothing else will fit. So each of these docking stations is looking for something called a glycoprotein. There are 8 that we are concerned with. Now, a glycoprotein is a glyconutrient which has met, a glyconutrient such as ambritos, which has met its protein. They combine together and it becomes a glycoprotein. It may also be called a glycoform or a glycoconjugate, but don't confuse people. Glycoprotein's fine. So they've come together. Now it's a glycoprotein. This glycoprotein has to find its way to its corresponding docking station. It will fit one docking station and nothing else will do. When all 8 have made it into their docking stations, now this transceiver is ready to send and receive a clear signal. Cellular communication. In the United States, we call these things cellular telephones. Around the world, mostly they're called mobiles. Everyone has one. 10-year-old kids have these now, which, by the way, is not a good idea, but that's another conversation. So everybody's done this with their mobile before, where you're calling somebody and your call begins to drop out. Bits and pieces of a word drop out. Maybe whole words drop out. Maybe whole sentences drop out. So you're talking to your friend and, hey, how's it going today? Yeah, said what? Now, if it's somebody you know on the other end of the mobile phone, then you may understand the message and you may be able to act on that message. So the signal did go out and a signal did come back, but the signal wasn't accurate. This is what happens in your body as well. If on our transceiver we've got even 7 but not 8, then we have a signal with dropouts. A signal which is not clear going out, a signal which is not clear coming back. All right, now that we've established this, let's talk about our story to explain ambertose. In your body, you have these little cells that patrol your bloodstream, and we're not going to talk about any complex science because people will glaze over and you'll lose them. So we're going to keep this really simple. We're going to call these little cells scout cells. They are scouting, they are patrolling your bloodstream. Their job is to look for things that don't belong in you. Now, as they're patrolling along, now remember, all the cells in this scenario all have all 8 docking stations filled with their glyconutrients. So all of the cells in this story can send a clear signal and receive a clear signal. All right, the little scouts are going through the bloodstream and they spot a rhinovirus. Does that sound bad? It's not really too bad. Rhino is Latin for nose, so it's a head cold. But you still don't want a head cold in your body. It's not a terrible, deadly disease, but you don't want it in your body, right? So the scout cells, they spot the rhinovirus. They send a signal to immune system headquarters, to the general at immune system headquarters. And the signal says, "General, we've been invaded by rhinovirus." The general says, "Thank you, scouts," and he sends a signal to the barracks where the soldier cells stay. And the commander of the soldier cells receives a clear signal from the general that says, "Commander, we've been invaded by the rhinovirus. Muster the troops, get out there and kill these guys so our human is healthy." Well, the commander has all of his docking stations filled. He sends a message back to the general. He says, "General, I'm sorry. We just finished a battle protecting our human. We took a whole lot of casualties. We need to have new soldier cells made, and the troops are hungry. They need to be nourished." All right? So the general receives a signal. He sends one signal to the training center to make brand new soldier cells. He sends another signal to the brain, and the signal says, "Tell our human to go eat 13 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables right now." And just for a moment, you go, "Wow, broccoli, Brussels sprout." Nah. Well, you get your nutrition somewhere. Now, the scout cells, they spot the nutrition that's come down into the digestive tract. They send a clear signal to the general. "General, the nutrition has arrived." The general sends a signal to the transport corps, the digestive enzymes. And the digestive enzymes rush into the digestive tract. They do their thing. They turn the food into a usable form, and they transport that food to the soldier cells to feed them. Because no cell can do what it was designed to do unless it receives the nutrition it was designed to have. The soldiers are fed. They're reinforced with new cells, and they're ready to go. And the commander sends a signal to the general, and the commander says, "All right, General, we're ready. We are strong, we're reinforced, we're well fed. What does the enemy look like?" Now that's an important question, isn't it? So the scout cells are given an order from the general: sneak up on the rhinovirus. Put a little tag on them when they're not looking. And then report back to us what the tag looks like so our soldiers will only kill friendly cells. So they do that, they report back, the tag looks like this, they tell the soldiers go out, they kill the rhinovirus, and you are well. That's how ambertose works. All of you can repeat that. There's nothing complicated in that scenario. There's no science, and it is how ambertose works. And everyone you repeat it to will be able to repeat it to someone else. That's duplicatable. So I would say that you should not lead with ambertose because it still is a little bit too complicated when you start getting into the follow-up. Lead with phytomatrix or lead with AO, which I'm about to talk to you about. But if you do talk about ambertose, now you know how to talk about it where it'll make sense to everyone. Here's another thing to think, give you another analogy that you can use with anyone. where someone says, well, you know, I think I feel okay. I don't think I need any of your supplements or anybody else's, okay? How many of you have owned a battery-operated thing like this? And the battery-operated thing that you own, whatever it is, maybe it's your TV remote control, it's working just fine, it's working just fine, but as you work it, the battery is losing more and more and more of its life, isn't it? Now, usually in most of these kinds of devices, you don't get any warning, just all of a sudden the device stops working. Now, the battery didn't run out of juice in 1 second. It ran out of juice a little bit each day over time, didn't it? That's you, too. Now, it was working just fine every day. I'm working it just fine. Then one day, bam, it doesn't work. That's what happens to humans. They're working just fine, working just fine. The battery's going down, the battery's going down, the battery's going down. And then one day, it's not working. That's an analogy that you can use. When they say, I think I feel fine. Yeah, your battery feels fine right up to that last moment when it stops working. Got all kinds of good analogies for you. Okay, Plus is our product to support glandular health. And the idea is that this is not a hormone, but rather plant sterol, which provides the nutrition that the cells of the glands require so that these glands can make the hormones as you need them. So there's a difference in the way you explain that. That was our first product, by the way, the first product Mannatech ever made, Plus. And it still remains in the top 5 worldwide every year, no matter what technology we bring out, because the product makes you feel good. AO. Now, most of your competitors right now around the world, almost all, are making their money claiming that they have the best antioxidant. They can't all be the best. Well, this is a question of fine print. Do you say that here? In the U.S., we always talk about read the fine print. That's where the real warning is, right? All right. Get a picture in your mind. Ambritose AO for antioxidant is the best antioxidant on planet Earth, and I can prove it. And your competitors can't. So, you remember I talked to you, remember I said, remember serum ORAC. Serum means blood. ORAC stands for oxygen, radical, absorption, capacity, or the capacity of any molecule to neutralize the harmful effect of a free radical. Now, free radicals accelerate the aging process. So some of your competitors are talking about the fact that they have the best anti-aging product. Based on what? Well, that's what I'll explain to you in a moment. And many of them talk about the 68 different health problems, and I won't mention any diseases, but the 68 different health issues which are directly linked to oxidative stress. And among those 68 are the top killers of people in every country on the planet. Oxidative stress, the most serious threat to human health on planet Earth today. And the pollution is not getting better, folks, despite Al Gore's movie. So what did we do? At Mannatech, we developed this product after 4 years of laboratory testing in a state-of-the-art analytical research lab. We used 2 different types of testing in the lab so that we could have a baseline and really good verification on what kind of antioxidant properties each of the materials we tested gave us. And folks, we tested everything that was listed in the scientific literature and everything that we could find in the folk literature that wasn't scientific, but just we believe this does this and we believe this does that. We found that a lot of things claiming to be antioxidants actually weren't, or they weren't very good. We tested almost 100 competing products None of them performed well at all. I mean, not even, well, I'll just show you the numbers here in a moment. And we used serum ORAC. It's the most expensive test, the most complicated test, a test that requires very specific equipment, and a test that our competitors don't do. Why? Because it's very expensive, very complicated, and requires very sophisticated equipment. So our competitors do these tricks in test tubes. And I'll explain to you the tricks that they use in a second. Serum ORAC, what the U.S. Department of Agriculture does, is the gold standard. This is the only thing it tells you. What does it mean? It means your level of ORAC, or antioxidant protection, in your blood. I don't care what a test tube does. I care what happens in you. Nobody with a healthy brain cell left in their head should care about anything except what happens in their bodies. So we do the test. The best thing tested was Mannatech's Ambritos AO. It wasn't an anomaly. Remember what I said to you earlier, in science we don't accept one test. 2 are good, 3 are better, well, 4 are even better. 4 human trials using serum ORAC. We know what Ambritos AO does. And it does it consistently, and it does it the best of everything tested. Now you'll notice on this list there's the U.S. Department of Agriculture's, it says fruit and veggies there, and that comes out to 13% in human blood. Our product, an average of 37.4% in human blood, so about 3 times better than the fruits and veggies. We do want you to eat your fruits and veggies, okay? But we know that most of you aren't going to do it correctly. That's just the way it is around the world. You'll also see, I want you to make note of Concord grape juice. Concord is the brand, but it's grape juice off the grocery store shelf. Grape juice for about $3 US per bottle, and it tested at 6% in human blood. Well, that's good, and we know this because you've heard the recommendation of having a glass of red wine, 1 glass of red wine per night. And I made the joke last night about the Aussie who said, is that a 1,000 ml glass? No, a 150 ml glass gives you antioxidant protection. You go above that, you're creating new problems in your body. But why? Because red wine contains something called resveratrol, and that is extremely good for your body in terms of anti-aging and antioxidant. 1 glass, okay? And the last product to talk about, how much time do I have, by the way? 4 minutes? 1 minute. It's the best. Okay, Carolyn and Catherine just gave me 5 minutes. We'll do this really fast. By the way, how's the tin doing? Is it getting around the room yet? Cool. All right. All right. Less than 5 minutes. Who's got the best fish oil product in the world? We do. How do we know? We went to the only manufacturer that is pharmaceutical standard from the front door to the back door. There's only one. Lots of fish oil manufacturers, but only one that has a facility like this. We went to them, and they will make fish oils for anyone at any grade. They don't care. You pay them, they'll give you whatever you want. So if you want to sell a fish oil product for €2 for 500 capsules, they'll make you something that crummy and junky, sure. But if you want the best, they'll make the best, and they do make the best. Their oil, the oil which is now exclusively ours, has more medical studies, more scientific studies, more safety studies, more efficacy studies than any other fish oil on planet Earth. We have the best as proven by scientific study, and we have the exclusive. No one else can touch us. By the way, I'd take 90 minutes to do this presentation in other countries, so we're doing pretty good with this. So we've got 830 international units of vitamin D3, the kind of vitamin D that's found in human blood, the kind you need. And this is important not just for people who live in this bright, sunny country of England, but for anywhere in the world, because we're seeing vitamin D deficiencies around the world now. When doctors are doing human blood tests, they're finding people with vitamin D deficiencies everywhere because people work indoors, they live indoors, they're spending almost all their time indoors now. When you're outside, you're told to use sunblock or cover your skin, which you do, and that keeps you from converting the sunshine vitamin. So everybody, and the other thing is diet. Our diet, we're not eating the foods that contain vitamin D. Vitamin D3 is found in animal products, not in vegetable products. So you're going to find that vegetarians and vegans are particularly at risk for vitamin D deficiency, but I've got to tell you, everybody on an omnivorous diet that's been tested thus far seems to be deficient as well. If you want to absorb your calcium correctly, you need vitamin D. In fact, if you've got the right amount of vitamin D, you need less calcium. And that's a good thing. I wish I had time to explain all that to you. Some great studies on that. So for strong bones and your musculoskeletal system, the metabolites of vitamin D3 and the omega-3s combined help to regulate your immune system. That's very important. If you want to have a healthy inflammatory response, I don't care what the inflammation came from. You don't come up to me and say, I have this inflammatory disease. I don't care what it came from. If you want a normal inflammatory response, you must have omega-3. You must. There's no way around it. And people all over the planet are coming up short on that in blood tests as well. Also, omega-3 for your blood lipid level, fats, blood fats, cholesterol, triglyceride, extremely important. Pregnant and lactating women. The global organization tells us that we should have at least 200 milligrams of DHA in a pregnant or lactating mother every day for the health of the child, development of the eyes, development of the brain. If you analyze a human being, if you did an autopsy, you would find that the greatest concentration of DHA, one of the two important omega-3s, is in the eyes and in the brain. And it's extremely important for both. Your brain is not going to work right without DHA, folks. It's just not. Your memory cannot function correctly without DHA. Did everyone hear that? Your memory cannot function correctly without DHA. And we all need a bunch of it. Your principal sources of vitamin D are fish and eggs. But every animal product has vitamin D3. Every animal product has some amount of D3. Vegetable products do not. Sun exposure, of course, do you see who's at risk? I've never done this bit this fast. If you want your ambrotose to work correctly, combine it with omega-3 because the EPA DHA is going to help the ambrotose to function more effectively. If you want your plus to function more effectively, you need to combine it with omega-3 because the EPA DHA will help those phytosterols function more effectively. Oh, and the last product I forgot about, Mannabears. Very quickly. Mannabears provide you with glyconutrient and phytonutrient. The phytonutrient from 11 different fruits and vegetables. Glyconutrient, 4 bears is equivalent to 2 ambrotose capsules, and that's a lot of ambrotose in those delicious little bears. So they're a great snack. Recommended 4 bears per day. I know most people want to eat 4 jars per day, but 4 bears per day is all you need. I've probably gone over time even on my extension. Thank you, folks. I hope you got something really good out of this today.